Okay, so we've got the existing floor plan there coming along, but because I've drawn this in the floor plan for the whole building, it's going to be difficult to project the section for this individual room without the rest of the building getting in the way. So I'm going to make a new file, just going to the main menu, new, and then drawing, and make sure I use the ACAD ISO template as always. And then into this file I'm going to create an XREF, or an external reference, using the previous file. So just remember, in AutoCAD you always have tabs these days at the top. If you're using an older version of AutoCAD you won't have these, but they've had the tabs for the last few releases. And the tabs make it much easier to switch between files. And it's very important with AutoCAD that you can navigate between different files, because you'll often have the drawings separated and distributed between several files in most projects. And so I'm going to go back to the original file and make sure it's saved. And you can tell that it's been saved because there'll be an asterisk next to the name if it hasn't been saved. And that's a really important thing as well when you're working in AutoCAD, to realise which files have been saved and which ones haven't. So this one here, Drawing 2, hasn't been saved yet, but I'm going to go to the main menu and use Save As to save this. And I'm going to call this Sections. And so any operation that you do, even just changing the view, is in AutoCAD something that is considered as a step you could save. So here you can see there's an asterisk now. Probably don't need to save it, but that's an interesting difference between, say, AutoCAD and Revit, where it doesn't save all of those things. So now I can bring in my file with the plan, going to the Insert tab, and then using the Attach option. So that Attach tool is like a grab bag of different import tools. You use it to bring in images and lots of other file formats. But most importantly for you, it'll bring in drawing files as external references. Now I better just show you before I complete that. If you want to just insert a drawing file and not have it linked, well, actually, do any of you know what you do? A non-linked drawing file? Okay, so this is something you probably should have an idea about. That's done with a block. So hopefully you all remember making blocks in AutoCAD. That's a really important thing. And so you just use the Insert tool, and instead of choosing from your list of blocks, I don't have any in this file anyway, but instead of choosing from there, you go to Browse, and then you can insert any drawing file you want, and it won't be linked. So there's a title block, for example. You wouldn't want that to be linked. And can you maybe think of some instances where you wouldn't want something to be linked? Why wouldn't you want something linked to another file? Yeah, so yeah, that's one. Yeah, pretty much. Yep. So basically, what you're saying is you don't want the thing that you've inserted to change, like you're saying. So you want to keep. Yep. Then that's right. So, and it's important to think about that. Sometimes once people see external references, they just think, I'll insert everything as an external reference, because why wouldn't you want everything to be linked? But quite often you don't want the linking because you don't want things to change. So think of an example where you have a project that's completed, and you've issued that to your client and to everyone else, and you've included a certain title block or a certain block with a certain type of maybe toilet or bathroom basin or something like that. And then later on you've gone and updated your library and changed that object, or you've changed your title block. If you've done it with a link, those things are going to change in the project documents. And it's really important that you don't have those things changing. They need to be maintained as they are so that they can be issued again in the same way. So don't always do external references when you're trying to link. Make sure you realise you have that insert option to insert drawing files that aren't linked. But again, when they need to be linked, and in this case we definitely want them to be linked, use attach. And so here I'm going to choose my, sorry, that's my file there. And click open. And you'll see then you have a range of options very similar to what you get when you're inserting a block. Now, probably the main one there you need to look at is the insertion point. In this case, you can just turn that off so that you have that tick box cleared and it'll say 0, 0, 0. Also check your block units. If that says inches, let me know. You'll have to change a setting in the original file. That's often a giveaway that you've used the wrong template. And everything else there you can just have turned off. So it's going to come in at the original location and with the original angle. If I click OK, double click with the wheel if you've done that, and you will see the object inserted. So well, we'll look at some different ways of working with the external reference itself later, but all I'm going to do now is change the angle so that I can start drawing my section. So the only change really I'm going to make to that is first changing the angle and then we'll look at clipping it. So with it selected, it's a bit like hatches and a few other things in AutoCAD. It'll bring up a special tab that you don't get normally. So look at the list of tabs there. It ends with performance. But if you select something like an external reference, you get this extra tab which has settings that are just for that object. So I'm going to go back to the Home tab so I can choose Rotate. And in this case, we can probably keep it with 0, 0 as the base point. So I'm just going to type 0, 0, press Enter. But now I need to use a reference angle. So I'm going to type R and then Enter, and then pick a point. Maybe so it's clearer this time, I'll use a point that's close to the room you're working on. So I'm going to choose one of these lines, and if you're wondering why I'm choosing the line for this wall, it's because I want that line to be straight. So I want this line to be horizontal. So you'll see now it's going to begin with that angle, and I can come across with ortho turned on and just snap that to 0 degrees. Okay, so you can see how now the room is, well, these walls are horizontal, these walls on the side are vertical. So everything's basically got right angles perpendicular to the drawing plane. So just zooming out there so you can see the whole thing, I'm going to select it, and then the next step is to clip it. And that's really one of the main reasons we're going to, well, we're going through this process. So I'm going to go to Create Clipping Boundary. Oh, that's on the External References tab that comes up. So you just need to select it, and then you'll see that up on the External References tab, Create Clipping Boundary. If you don't see it, just press Escape, and then select the external reference again, and
I don't have an external reference tab.
you've got to select it. You've got to select your object. So you just have to click onto it somewhere. So I'll have a look at it in a minute, but it'll come up eventually. So I'm just going to go now to Create Clipping Boundary, and then choose the rectangular option, and then draw a border around this room. Okay, so you can always adjust that afterwards. If you go to select it, using the grips there, you can easily adjust those points. Fine tune the size. So maybe I'll give you a chance to get that working and we'll look at doing the section next